Oh boy. Everyone loves some spicy drama. We got a little bit coming up this morning. There are big accusations that there was cheating at the Nerd Rage Gaming Open this weekend because it happened, or the accused cheating happened in the finals, and perhaps it was the deciding event that helped the person win the event. So we're gonna take a look at the footage. We're gonna analyze everything. Let's look at the footage. How about that? Let's take a look, and can you spot what's wrong that happens? Let's go look. Let's take a look at all of this. This game is gonna happen between... Is this gonna work out? No, this is not gonna work out. We gotta do it this way. This game is between Daniel Wharton versus Robert Hayes in the finals of the Nerd Rage Gaming event. And it is Mill versus Elementals. Man, could you predict that Mill and Elementals will be tier 1 decks going into the finals of any event? Unbelievable. All right, let's take a look at this thing. Oh, I don't have sound.
Start here with a Spell Bomb, but doesn't have a lot to show for it. And Muldrifter in play with the potential to blink and draw 2 more cards if Robert Hayes wants to do it.
Yeah, at least we also are lacking on black mana. I get the feeling that these Dimir Mill decks are playing quite a few more islands to swamps, but does have a Field of Ruin in play to be able to find a black source if that is something that Daniel Wharton needs, though that feels kind of bad to be spending your entire turn 3 to activate a Field of Ruin and get yourself a black source.
Yeah. Okay, so there's the... All right, pick up Luris is another option, but that's not going to do a whole lot with no black sources. There is the Ephemerate, so Robert will choose to draw 2 cards with the Ephemerate on the Muldrifter, and draws up, another Solitude, a Risen Reef, on whatever he drew for the turn. So he's accumulating a lot of cards in the hand. Daniel's having to do less work this game because Robert's drawing 3 times as many cards. And up to a point, that's good for Daniel. But then, as long as Robert draws more cards than he can use, it's good for Daniel. But if he just draws enough cards and uses them all and finds the right balance, then Daniel's going to be hurting. And this might be an Omnath. There's all kinds of cards in hand here.
All kinds of cards, and importantly, the Cavern of Souls was played this turn. So if there was any kind of counter magic that could be played from Daniel Wharton's side, something like a Mystical Dispute, it's not going to be able to answer this Risen Reef or potential later elementals that could come into play on Robert Hayes' side.
All right. So Robert Hayes is taking a moment deciding on the Risen Reef trigger card, which is interesting. Okay, he does pick it up. So it's a land, and he chooses to draw the land instead of put it into play tapped.
All right, do you get it or what? What is the accused cheat going on here? What ends up happening is he plays a Cavern of Souls for the turn, which is his land drop for the turn. Now let's look at Risen Reef. Risen Reef says, whenever Risen Reef or another elemental... Oh, where's my Banjo-Kazooie music? Whenever Risen Reef or another elemental enters the battlefield under your control, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card, you can put it on the battlefield tapped. Tapped. If you don't put the card onto the battlefield, you can put it into your hand. So you can... you're allowed to put it into your hand. Well, here's the deal. He shouldn't have put it in his hand. He had the choice to do this. Now, why does he want to do this? Because he's got a Force of... I don't know if you guys can see this. He's got a Force of Negation in his hand, and he is up against Mill, and he'd like to counter something. You know, he would like to counter something if he could. But here's another aspect of the situation. So I'll tell you what I think would happen. I honestly don't think there's a damn chance he cheated here. I really, really doubt it. Because if we watch him shuffle his hand... See, I think the idea... Okay, I'll tell you what I think happened. He played Cavern of Souls. He thought a long time about his turn. Like, let's go back. Let's go back to when he plays Cavern of Souls. You got remember when you play in a top 8, it's hard to. You're extremely exhausted, so he plays the Cavern Souls, thinking about his turn. What should he do? All right. You know what? Let's maybe get this Risen Reef on the board. How are we gonna optimize our mana? We're gonna do it this way. No, he was always thinking about, he got distracted. He was going to play Omnath. And then he's like, no, you know what? We're not going to play Omnath anymore. We're going to play the Risen Reef. This is a better idea. All right, we're going to trigger this Risen Reef. We're look at the top card of our library. He mixed plans up, and then he forgot. So now he's thinking, he has this land. Okay, do I put into play tapped, or I could put into my hand, and maybe I can put it onto the battlefield, and I could play Teferi Time Raveler, I could hold up Force and Negation. I have a lot of options here. So he decides to put it in his hand, instead of putting it into play tap, because then he can hold up Force and Negation, or maybe even play Teferi Time Raveler. Now this is why let's see if we can see his hand again. He's not showing it now. This is why I don't think he cheated. He has blue cards in his hand. Like he doesn't need the mana for Force Negation. He's got Teferi Time Raveler. He's got Omnath. So it's not like it's life or death whether he has this land in play or not. He doesn't need it whatsoever. He has a hand. He has a fistful of cards. He could just pass the turn with 2 mana up, and it would not really be that big of a deal. But he now gets to, preserve the full value of his hand. And remember, mistakes happen. Like on camera, they happen, but you have to really decipher whether it was like a malicious cheat or not. I wonder, does he have a land in his hand? I can't tell what the 4th card is. I know he has a Solitude, he's got Omnath, and he's got Force and Negation. Or maybe I'm wrong about one of the cards. So I think there was a game rule violation here, and the commentators are talking about it, and then there's like debating whether, hey, do they understand how Risen Reef works? But they understand perfectly how Risen Reef works. And there's going to be a Fractured Sanity that's going to be played for triple blue. And of course, he's got the mana for the Force and Negation. Now, this is obviously better than pitching a card, but he has the option to always pitch a card if he really wants to. Ariel also doesn't change because something is a final of a turn. What do you mean by that? Oh, you're saying this wasn't a professional Ariel event in the top 8. Ariel professional is day 2 of a GP and up. So what, this was just competitive Ariel is what you're saying? Yeah, this is how it usually is. So I honestly don't think he cheated. I think he got confused. And so I don't even think it's life or death whether he plays this Force Negation for 3 mana or he pitches his Teferi Time Raveler. I really don't think it's life or death in either of those situations. People will screw up on camera. Normally a judge will say, hey, you played a land for the turn, you take it back. Unfortunately, no one caught it except for the commentators. The commentators should have stepped in. Like usually, at Star City Games, if Cedric or Patrick notices something, they'll tell the table judges, hey, you all missed something, rewind the game. It didn't happen in this situation, but the way this whole game is playing out with the Cavern of Souls and then setting up an Omnath and then not playing the Omnath and then playing the Risen Reef and then the thinking, I think he just forgot that he played a land for the turn and then thought he had a clever play of putting the land in his hand and playing, because if he had no blue cards in his hand, this would look really bad, and I think it looks worse if he has no blue cards in his hand. Because he does have blue cards in his hand, this could have been I think it was an accident. But a lot of people are saying this. I mean, if that Fractured Sanity mattered so much, he would have just pitched his Teferi Time Raveler that he has in his hand. He's gonna play it later. Yeah, we can see an Omnath. I think it's a promo Omnath, and he has Teferi in his hand. The back card is a new card. He's gonna like play. He's basically gonna play out his hand, and I think he has a Solitude in his hand. The guy looks like he's trying to play carefully too. I feel bad for him. You know, the whole internet's out for him. See, this is the Teferi. He had this in his hand the turn that he played the turn that he played his Risen Reef and put the land in play. Keeping Teferi to play. Well, then he could have pitched the Omnath. Anyway, he had a selection of blue cards available. So I know the internet's out for blood. They're like, oh, we gotta burn them all down, cheating. But like, I honestly, I mean, you're welcome to make your opinion, but I really think that this was an accident. It's hard. We have to use some judgment when people make game rule violations on camera. Between it being cheating or not, I really doubt that he intended to cheat on camera like this, and he didn't need. And like I said, I don't think he needs to. I think he's pretty far ahead. I think he's in good. Well, I don't know. Far ahead is maybe a little bit of a stretch, but I think he's ahead, and he didn't really need to do this. It's better that he can save his resources. Well, Teferi, no. Then he pitches the Omnath if he thinks this Teferi is worth so much. Well, this guy has no history as far as I'm concerned, which I also think is important. But I'm sure the judges right now, they're going to, they're going to ask their opponents, hey, is this guy playing extra lands with his Risen Reef? What's going on? This could not be the end of it. I mean, the judges might do an investigation and, call on all the opponents of Robert Hayes and then realize, hey, yeah, he was playing extra lands like this. And then there might be a real problem. If he has a pattern of playing a land, thinking for a long time, playing Risen Reef, putting the land... They may not know they put a land in a hand, but like if the judge investigates and finds out this guy's been trying to put 2 lands in play, untapped, repeatedly, then that could be a problem. Maybe the story's not over. But if this is the one and only incident... And I'm ready to barbecue the cheaters, right? I'm ready to barbecue the cheaters, but I don't think this is one of them. I don't think it is. In my opinion. Alright, welcome everyone to the morning show where we discuss all things Magic the Gathering. Get your questions fired up. Let's have a great discussion this morning. Also, we do deck list review. So, you got a 75 you like some feedback on? Hey, submit it to us and both myself and the community. We'd love to give you some feedback. So, brew up your coffees, coffee crew, and let's brew up some Magic this morning. Welcome to Coffee and MTG for October 25th, 2021. I am your host, Nikachu, the Merfolk Master. Good morning. We still have some good mornings left here. Good morning, Freestyle. Good morning, Steven, Kaya, Mikey J, Hawkburn. Good morning, Gold Medals, Trevor Just, Gem in MTG, The Johnnies, Manuel Weeb, D-Ty Gaming, Mareep King, Bearer, Aztec Guy. Coffee done right as the show started. That's correct. Good morning, Wilk. Good morning, Jason. Who Imagine. Good morning, Cheese Person. Simon, Darwin, Lord Magicus. Starbucks cold brew for me today. It's getting colder out there. I can't, in Canada, as the temperature gets colder, I start ramping up the hot drinks. Trevor Just, when is the Nikachu video on how to cheat but make it look like an accident? Well, I'm not really I'm not the expert in that. I mean, I would be an imposter. The pro at that is Alex Bertoncini. He always played off his cheats as sloppy play, or it was an accident. Oh, it was another accident. Oh, it was another accident. Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, poor Robert Hayes. I'm going to defend him for now. I will say, we make mistakes on camera. It happens. It really happens. And you never get caught when it happens to you because your games aren't on camera. Nobody sees it, but no one would accuse you of cheating when you make a mistake like that. And some people would also say, well, he's so good, they should know better. That happens. Like, I think, there are videos of, like, Paulo Vitor Dominarosa being accused of cheating when he just made, a slip up in a very complicated board state. These things happen. I put like an extra. I put like 20 elementals on the battlefield with Master of Waves, and there was like 2 extra elementals there, which were completely unnecessary on camera. And one person also accused me of cheating. But fortunately, I did not need those elementals, so otherwise that might look bad. You should have Alex Bertoncini as a guest for cheating videos, like how an ex-robber reviews robbery scenes. I would love to hear how much he's cheated and he got away with, and he knows it. He knows the stuff that he got away with. Like maybe there's some stories where he cheated in a crowd of 30 people and he got away with it or something like that. Matthews Preti, how do you beat elves with merfolk in Historic? Seems impossible to get through the multitude of tokens without a way to enable Island Walk. You have to beat them quickly and beat them fast. You got to get down the beefy creatures. You need to play, you want to be heavy on lords and just attack before they get their game going. Because otherwise it's pretty shitty. I don't mind tempoing them out a little bit if you, like, I don't mind using Trickster on their mana dorks early on just to slow them down a turn. But you do have to, like, back it up with lords. It's not a good matchup, though. I mean, and just accept that. You know, there's bad matchups. And Trevor, of course, reminding me that we do have to feed Chubby Meatball every so often. And what he means by that is that we are sponsored by FusionGamingOnline.com. Deal of the week. This should be the last day for 15% off Magic Showcase singles. You can get Ugin, Murktide. You can get Bone Crusher Giant, Brazen Borrower. I'm mentioning some of them that I like. Showcase singles, the beautiful arts, wonderful borders at FusionGamingOnline.com. 15% off last day. And don't forget, if 15% is not enough for you, you can stack the discounts with the coupon code Nikachu. Get an additional 5% off all your purchases. We're also going to thank Mana Traders, the premier place to rent Magic cards online. And if Elementals or Mill perks your interest because you saw it being played in the finals of the Nerd Rage Gaming series, well, you can always borrow it and rent it, see if it's the right deck for you. And you know what? If it's not the right deck for you, just wait for another finals and play those decks. Just repeatedly try new things until you like what you play. Or if you want to just stay on the hot new thing. You can support the channel using my Mana Traders link in the description below, or save 15% off your first 2 months using coupon code Nikachu. So you know the drill. 3 question marks before the question, 3 question marks after the question. Helps me find your questions amongst all the comments I'm getting on my YouTube channel, my social media sites. But if you're on YouTube, Nikachu MTG streams, you can always donate with the super chat and your question gets pushed to the top of my feed. My feeling is the obligation is on the player in this case to demonstrate he made a mistake rather than cheating. I don't know. I don't think we can accuse everyone for every little mistake for cheating, because this game, especially at a casual level, people make mistakes all the time that get missed. And then I, as an observer, will like call the judge, you know, get them over, tell them what mistake was made and to fix the board state. You know, mistakes are missed by the players all the time. This happens constantly. But the difference is that your games are not caught on camera, and this one was. The weird thing about this game is that they didn't rewind anything. They should have. They noticed. The commentators, they talk about it. You know, I mean, let's listen to the commentators. And I don't know if this was the stream was on a delay or something.
Stay alive, and it looks like the only 2 lands on Daniel Wharton's side are these 2 Field of Ruins. Kind of.
Or maybe they talked about it already.
It's unfortunate to be
play, not for a huge amount of damage, but it's something. Daniel still
commented on it being the piece of paper. Oh, I was mentally thinking about it. And Robert Hayes certainly went first, and there were only 4 lands on the side of Daniel Wharton. So I do believe that whatever land just came into play should be tapped regardless.
Yeah, so they noticed, but they should. I guess they were not 100% sure. That was the problem. They were not 100% sure.
It's getting destroyed anyway, so maybe it just isn't going to end up mattering.
Maybe they were not 100% sure. Where's my music? Bring the music back. Alan Soul, what are your thoughts on the untapped Japan Historic? I've never heard of it. What is this all about? Thoughts on untapped Japan Historic? Oh, was there like was there an event or something? I didn't follow it. Sorry about that. We've got Naxter. What makes Burn and G-Tron to be such a stable archetypes that have been here for such a long time compared to short-lived ones like Storm, Infect, Gruul, and Midrange? Well, to be honest, I'm surprised on Burn. Like, I'm honestly surprised. I thought, you know, maybe some sort of form of life gain or a value would have just crushed this deck by now. But, so I have no answer for you on Burn. But G-Tron, I mean, it's just a raw, powerful deck. The deck is all based around getting to 7 mana by turn 3 and play some gigantic spells. And as time goes on, we're going to get better and better spells. You can play for 7, 10 mana. And Tron has been getting upgrades over time. They even got the upgrade with Karn the Great Creator. Like, so, I mean, it's pretty... It makes sense to me that Tron has survived this entire time because there's no wasteland in the format, and it seems like, despite all the hate that they create for Tron, it doesn't matter. Now, Burn comes and goes in waves, so, I mean, Burn is not always well-positioned, but, you know, it is funny that it has stuck along this much for this long. Nikachu 30 for 30. Cheaters never win. The story of Alex Bertoncini. Aztec I saw a horrible call once. Last minute level 1 judge told a player they couldn't target opponent's creature with incremental growth. No other judges present to overturn. People were livid and reported him. Well, whatever. I mean, it's a level 1 judge. He's doing his best. I have to tell you, level 1 judges and level 2 judges, there's a huge difference between the two. There's a huge difference. So, poor guy. It's better to have a judge than no judge. Judges will make mistakes. A last-minute judge told the player they couldn't target opponent's creature with I don't even know. What is increment growth? We've got increment growth here. Sorcery, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, 2 +1/+1 counters on another target creature, and 3 +1/+1 counters on a third target creature. Of course you can put this on your opponent's creatures. It just says target creature. It doesn't say your creature. It doesn't say creature you control. They should have just argued with him for a little bit. He probably would have came to his senses. Oh well. Poor guy. It's not easy to be a judge. I've heard much more complicated board states screwed up by judges, but they do their best. They make a million judge calls, they're gonna make a mistake. What else do we have here? Thoughts on an Asmarano food deck with Feasting Troll King? That's an actual deck. You mean like how well is it positioned right now? It's probably not positioned great, but it's fine. It's a deck. It's an archetype. Oh, was there a Red Bull sponsored event recently? I mean, I didn't follow any historic open that happened over the weekend or anything like that. What would you consider inappropriate attire for locals, both for men and women? I've seen some crazy fits in my day. I don't know. I'm no judge. I guess, okay, you know what? I think in North America, judges are taught that this is for playmats. This is for playmats. If you think the playmat would make someone else you know uncomfortable, then it's not okay. But I don't know how they... But, like, that's for playmats. And there are some crazy playmats out there, people. There are some crazy playmats. But I don't know about actual attire. And honestly, I really don't care. You know, if you show up... As long as you don't show up completely naked, because I don't want your ass crack on the seat, you know, I'd probably be fine with it. Thoughts on Affinity making the top 8 again in this weekend's Modern Challenge? Is that what happened? Let's go check it out. Is it a fluke? You know what? Affinity is one of those types of decks. We got Affinity here. And this really, and it's that primitive sort of Affinity by Zikari. Congratulations for making top 8. Frogmite, Gingerbrute, Memnite, Mirror Enforcer. Oh, the real mirror. Ornithopter, Signal Pest, Sojourner's Companion, Thought Monitor. And this is very similar to the last one that made top 8. Very, very similar. And running Treasure Vault, so that was a bigger deal than we thought. And blue-red in the main deck. Etch Champion. It's Affinity. Affinity's not dead. For anyone that liked Affinity, there it is. It's not the Mox Opal Affinity that you like. Oh, you know what I like about this? I can rub into the faces of all the stupid Affinity players. You know, the Affinity crowd has this giant, very smooth brain crowd. The Affinity players. Very smooth brain. Oh, our Mox Opal's gone. The deck is dead. Shut up. Anyway, there's your deck. You have the point is that if you have the core of the deck, so long as they didn't ban like all your other 0-mana creatures, I think the core of the deck is still there. So long as the cranial plating is still there, you still have a chance. And what happened? They printed Thought Monitor, they printed Urza Saga, they printed Treasure Vault, and then you make those upgrades into the deck, and boom, your deck is back. Also, there's some big adjustments. I mean, we don't have things like... I mean, this is real Affinity, actually. This is like legit Affinity. Unlike the Steel Overseer... Ravager days. Affinity players, very smooth brain crowd. Very smooth brain. Confirm, 0-mana 0/2s are better than $2,000 of counters into fairies? In some cases, yes. Oh, we got a lot of questions here. What is it going to... Burn is just consistent and linear. It's very consistent. And one thing that's good about it is that, like, Eidolon of the Great Revel makes a lot of decks honest. It's hilarious how many decks will lose to this thing. So, I mean, if you want to play some deck that's going to spit out a ton of spells, you might just lose on the spot to Eidolon of the Great Revel. G-Tron or Eldrazi-Tron, and why? I would choose Eldrazi-Tron because I like how the proactive nature of the deck. That's basically it. Judges are people, that's correct. We're not machines. And so are players. Players are also not machines. And when it comes, like, getting back to the cheating thing, you have to... Cheating requires the intent to cheat. Like, you know they meant to cheat, and it was like a big deal. I don't think the situation with the Risen Reef was actually that necessary. Why didn't you use Agadeem's Awakening in the Vampire Nocturnus deck you streamed? Because then I would take a bunch of damage. I didn't really want to take a bunch of damage. It would have been okay, I guess, because I had access to more lands than usual, but... Whatever, I didn't play it. Shooting myself for 3 damage didn't seem appealing. And also, my curve wasn't low, it was sort of high. I had a lot of 3 drops and 4 drops, which means if I want to curve out, I will take damage from that Agadeem's Awakening. Back in my day, Greentron played Grove of the Burnwillows. That's right, it used to be Red Greentron. It evolved away from one of the colors. To play around Blood Moon, no doubt. How come have you not featured Polavito Damarosa cheating? Because he's never cheated, as far as I'm concerned. I have not seen anything that he's done that makes me think that he cheated. Maybe some game rule violations, but game rule violations does not mean cheating. That's why you got to decipher it. There's one big difference between me and my predecessors. You know, I'm not the only one making cheating videos out there, but I'm not, like, barbecuing people for game rule violations. I'm making videos on actual cheaters. You know, they legitimately cheated. So, I mean, if you're an honest player, don't worry. Like, they were caught and punished. Matt Wazix, just a heads up, girlfriend just flew back to the U.S. from Canada. COVID test in Canada to come back is $180. Yep. It's not cheap, and it's not pleasant either. I'm hoping the rules around the test are going to be dropped by the time Vegas comes around. We're going to have COVID passports by the end of November in Canada, which is, I guess that's good for me because I don't have to scramble to get one for Vegas. Vegas is coming on the 20th. So I don't have to worry about the COVID passport being mandatory. Eden Yardeni. With the big card pool Modern has, can Lutri be a viable companion in a control shell? Maybe Esper Lutri. You should try it. Might be fun. Here's the deal. If you want like an extra card, like what does Lutri do anything important? I think it's just, it doubles one of the spells. Lutri is not good. It's like, what are you going to do? You want to double your counter spells? When Lutri enters the battlefield, if you cast it, copy target instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. Like, are you going to copy Prismatic Ending or something? It's awkward. It's really awkward. Lutri is not really that good. It's one of the worst companions. And if you want to play a companion in a control deck, you can play Kahira. Oops. Oops, I'm not spelling this. Kahira. There we go. Yeah, you can play this thing just fine. Just don't play any creatures in your deck, and boom. Oh no, you can play creatures. You can play Solitude in your deck. You can play Solitude in your deck and play this as a companion. Sick. So anyway, that's the problem. Diago, without top deck controlling, what are the minimum reasonable odds to turn a Delver on turn 2? Without top deck controlling, close to, it's like 45%, 40 or 45% in Modern. I mean, just look at how many spells you have in your deck versus how many non-spells you have in your deck, like instants and sorceries. And that's it. Naxter, I started playing Tron, but I noticed my sideboarding isn't ideal. What is a way I can improve without going every week to my local game store and see marginal improvement? I noticed my sideboarding isn't ideal. Well, the key is to watch Tron players, like actual Tron players, and see what they're doing. But like, I don't know. There are a few Tron content creators that you could get some info from, but it would be ideal if you could get some info from like some real pro players. So you're saying your sideboard strategy is your sideboard's not a problem, it's your strategy. So I mean, you have to reach out to really good Tron players when they come about and just ask them, hey, how do you sideboard in this matchup? Why? I always ask the why. Why are we doing it? Because then you'll be able to extrapolate that to another archetype that you didn't ask about the sideboard. You know, one sideboard plan for one matchup can translate to another matchup if it is a similar enough deck. Why would you even care about what people wear? Exactly. Hoogland wore an owl costume at a Star City event once, playing the Taking Turns. Yeah, it was Owling Mine, right? And we have Wilk here saying he prefers that you wear deodorant over clothes. Oh, I see. So maybe the question's coming up because people are going to be in costumes for Halloween soon. That's my Halloween costume every year while at work. The Invisible Man. You'll see me tomorrow. Or is it the Emperor's new clothes? The Emperor with his new clothes. What else do we have? Callan's happy to see Affinity in the top 8. We needed more representation in Modern. And you got a deck. And you got a real Affinity deck. Affinity's gone back to its old roots of casting Frogmite and Mere Superion. Yeah, Merfolk's like, ah, shit, the robots are back. I think I can deal with this new Affinity deck. The old one seems way harder. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this one is just going to be as bad, but I'm not as scared for this new Affinity deck versus the old ones. Michael asks, hey Nikachu, I'm somewhat newer to the game, been playing since M20, and I've gotten to the point where I can X01 Modern Locals. I want to get better at deck brewing and draft. Any suggestions? Talk to Aspiring Spike. He's a deck brewing master. I'm not a good deck builder. I know I host this Decklist review thing, and I can spot out some very obvious problems, but I'm not... I'm more of a deck tweak. There's two different types of players, the deck builders and the deck tweakers. I'm more of a tweaker. I'll take a deck that's pretty good, and then I'll adjust it by like 5 cards to make it really good. But the deck building geniuses out there are like Aspiring Spike. But I don't know if you need it for draft. Like, you will probably need it for drafting. You don't always need it for constructed because, you know, we just net deck. Deck brewing and draft. Yeah, I think you call on the actual deck brewers out there. I'd love to give you my answer, but my answer sucks. I mean, you can practice. Some things you can do is you can adopt ideas. You look at decks that are similar and you adopt ideas from it. So let's say you want to make a control deck. You say, okay, this deck has X number of lands, X number of spells, X number of win conditions. How can I model that appropriately? And then you play test the deck, and then maybe you feel like you have too many win conditions or too many spells, you can adjust the numbers, or too many lands, you can adjust the numbers from there. I like drawing cards. What modern deck draws the most cards? It's either going to be Control or it's going to be Elementals. Elementals is drawing a lot of cards recently. Between Risen Reef, maybe it's Elementals, Risen Reef, what's it called? Omnath, Risen Reef. That draws a lot of cards by itself. Teferi Time Raveler, maybe that's that. If anyone has any other suggestion, what draws the most cards in Modern? Help out Alex Nope. Sanzi, turn 1 Mountain, Rite of Flame, Eidolon, Eidolon the Great Revel and Legacy. But it could get Force of Will, and then you're screwed. It's probably an okay play. Magic Gathering Online and Arena are machines, and they break all the time. Oh yeah, but also yeah, but fortunately they control all the game rule violations or cheating. Well, not all the cheating. They don't prevent stream sniping. So I mean, when people say, "Oh, there's no cheaters," when they play online, no, there still is. There's still cheaters. It's harder to cheat, but the cheating still exists. Emerald Boy says, I thought players can appeal to higher judges if they're not satisfied with the regular judge's opinion. Yes, but the problem is, what if the event only has one judge? And that's the judge that gave you the ruling. You'd be like, I would like to appeal the decision. I would like to call on the head judge. And then the head judge is like, yeah, sure, just give me 1 second. Hello, I am the head judge. How can I help you? And so, you know, it's the problem if there's not enough judges at the event. It sounds like it wasn't a big event anyway, so whatever. People are getting like really upset over this level 1 judge and what was probably a 20-player event. Big deal. It happens. Maybe opponents playing fetch lands and pain lands is what still give burn decks that little edge. I can't count how many times I have regret that 2 life I paid in my turn 1. Yeah, it hurts. But there's a lot of situations, there's a lot of decks out there that play fetch lands, pain lands, and they just gain tons of life. Let's not forget the Omnath Uro days. And Oko days. They played fetch lands, but they gained a lot of life. What do you think about Cabal in Mono Black Vampires? You mean Cabal Coffers? You mean Cabal Coffers? I think it's referring to Cabal Coffers. I think it's crap. I think it does nothing on turn 1. I think it does nothing on turn 2. And on turn 3, it still does nothing. What are you going to do? Add 2 mana? Yeah, Cabal Coffers was not a very... I mean, maybe has some potential in some right deck, but like what it basically tells you is that you can't play with swamps. Can't play with non-swamps, and it's really slow. Zeagle says, Tron sideboarding, always swap cards for sideboard options that do something similar or are dead in the matchup. For example, cut Dismember for some other interaction. Never cut Tutors because consistency. Yeah, you never cut anything that's going to give you your turn 3 Tron. Do you think Mono Black Zombies is viable in Modern, even without Aether Vial? It's possible that Aether Vial is not even necessary. But yes, I think a zombie deck and a vampire deck is waiting in the weeds for someone to find the perfect right build. What is this? Emperor's New Clothes would summon HR so quickly? You mean human resources? Oh, yeah, that's true. Okay, so in terms of decks that draw cards, Ad Nauseam will draw all the cards. Your entire deck. So if you like drawing cards, if you like drawing your entire deck, it won't feel right, though, because, I mean, you draw the cards and you'll just win instantly. And you know, normally when you're drawing the cards, you want to play the cards, but you know, you're drawing all the cards to like then just throw them away. Just to reshuffle it back into the deck. Jason, why do you think more people don't play 8-rack if played correctly? It's hard to beat. I enjoy being the only one in my area. It just doesn't win very much. I'm sure there's a good version of 8-rack out there, but for the most part, you know, 8-rack could just be defeated by cards on the battlefield and then attacking you. That's why 8-rack isn't really played. I don't think they found the right deck, and I think there's definitely room to innovate it, especially like the Rakdos builds with what's it called, Kroxa? Yeah, Kroxa. I think that build looks really good. I think the biggest problem for 8-rack right now is that they're stuck thinking that they have to go mono black, and if they could explore at least another color. Like, either it be Dimir, Orzhov, Rakdos, Golgari, then they would open a whole new window of possibilities that they could explore. Especially since they have Urza Saga right now, and I think Urza Saga is a huge boost to the archetype as well. Does Dredge count as drawing lots of cards? You know what, that's a good point, Mareep King. A lot of people play Dredge because it feels like they're drawing a lot of cards. So, I'll allow it. I'll allow it. Every single, like a lot of interviews that I've seen about Dredge, like, why do you play Dredge? Because I love drawing cards, and you're not going to draw any more cards than Dredge. It's a card drawing machine. Wow, Cabal Coffers used to be 90 bucks, now it's 20 bucks. Thanks, Modern Horizons 2. Yeah, exactly. I'd like to appeal to the head judge. Guess what? I am the head judge. Now that's awkward. The head, at least at the GP, the head judge are like, they're in red. So like, anyway, yeah, they have a red shirt on. So if you you'll know it's the head judge. I'd like to appeal to another head judge, please. I want another head judge. Any new secret lair cards that could impact Modern? None. Because there are no secret lair cards that are printed towards Modern. Secret lair, if there are any unique secret lair cards, they're printed for Legacy, but they're actually not Modern legal. Thank God. Oh, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. I mean, we do have Modern Horizons, and I don't mind Modern Horizons, but the secret, they make some bizarre secret lair cards every so often. Victor just reminding us, as a control player, turn 3 Teferi does make for awful games. Modern would be better without it. Oh. There's a lot of people that agree with you. They're just waiting. They're just waiting for Teferi to get banned. It's only a matter of time. Which pro wore weird things to tournaments? Well, every so often they'll wear an outfit, but if you're talking about what they talk about, Jeff Hoogland once wore an owl suit. Yeah, maybe I can do Jeff Hoogland owl. Here you go. There he is, the handsome devil. Owl, will he win the tournament, or how? Owl could he lose? Anyway. For the record, he didn't do it on his own accord. The Twitch chat paid him. And hey, if you pay me enough money, I'll wear whatever the fuck you want. I'll get the maid outfit and cat ears and everything. Mick Mullet, if Merfolk had access to Time Walk, it'd be in the deck. But what is the theoretical cutoff on CMC for an extra turn spell in Merfolk? Turn 2, 3, 4? They certainly don't want Time Warp. No, but like, why would you make it cheaper, right? What's the cutoff on CMC? It's probably, it might be 5, maybe 4. Like, they definitely don't want to, I don't think they want to give us a turn 3 Time Warp for a deck that plays with creatures, so. Mind you, I don't even know if Time Warp would even be that good in Merfolk, because Time Warp is good if you have something already on the battlefield, but if Merfolk has nothing on the battlefield, then it just Time Warps turn into Explore, where you just like, you draw an extra card, you play it, blah 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 blah. How much to see you in a maid outfit? Okay, I'll think about a price. I've seen this a couple times. S9 is Urza Saga grab lands? I don't think so. No. Oh, it does Urza Saga grab lands. No, that does not grab lands. It has to find. You can only find spells that you can see a mana cost of 0 or 1 on the card, and lands don't have a mana cost of 0. It has a mana value of 0. It's converted mana cost of 0, but it does not have a mana cost of 0 on the card, so you can't grab it. That's how you would do it. It very specifically says that it needs a mana cost of 1 or 0. So no suspend cards. Can't do that. Alright, it's time, people. Time for deck list review. You heard the music. Now you see the command. If you wanted to get your deck list reviewed, go into my description. There is a link to my Discord. Join my Discord. And then there's a channel called Decklist Review. Use the command !review deck space, give the URL to your deck list, and you'll be eligible at random for deck list review. And I guess I'll keep this open still if you want to guarantee your deck list to be reviewed. There is a paywalled version. Send 25 USD to paypal.me/Nikachu MTG, and you'll be make sure you leave a link to your deck list in the comments, and yeah, you'll be guaranteed deck list review, and also I'll definitely play a match with your deck. We had some spicy ones this week. Daniel Tompkins won a game last Friday at F&M playing Time Warp as an Explorer. Extra turn, drew Persist, brought back Archon, TKO. Time Warp is seeing more play today than it ever has in the history of Time Warp. Time Warp was a shitty card for the longest time. Yeah, but at 2 mana, an extra turn spell is practically a free include in the deck because it's baseline 8s. It cantrips and untaps your lands. I don't know what the cutoff is. Probably have 4 mana to be safe. And it probably needs to be 3 mana to be good. But then it's too good. Like, that's the type of that's a difficult card to balance, unless it says something like you lose the turn, you lose next turn if you don't win. In 2 turns you lose. All right, let's look at some delicious deck lists. Delicious. Rookux. Congratulations, you are the next and millionth person to be chosen for deck list review. And you give us this damn deckstats.net. Well, maybe we can get a little bit bigger here. Does that look a little bit better? Nah, I'm in the way. Damn, just a heads up, deckstats.net, the absolute worst site for displaying any decks for deck list review. Because look how small that they make the cards. And then you have to basically read the text. I guess that's okay, but whatever. Whatever. Alright, lands, 23. Field of Ruin, Forest, Gemstone Mine. That is a bit odd. Mana Confluence, Plains. Reflecting Pool. What is the format? Modern Rexor? Okay. Plains, Reflecting Pool, Swamp, Verdant Catacombs, Windswept Heath. Eladamri's Call. Search your library for a creature card. Reveal it, put into your hand. Blood for Bones. Sack a creature as an additional cost. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, then return another creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Weird. So you sack a creature and then reanimate something. Do the old switcheroo. Collective Brutality, Thoughtseize, Avacyn, Birds of Paradise, Dryad of the Elysian Grove, Eldrazi Displacer, Elish Norn. So it is some sort of reanimator deck. A lot of targets, too. Eternal Witness. Why Eternal Witness? Just to bring back the reanimator targets? Visual Spoiler is worse, in my opinion. This is terrible. Like, how am I reviewing this? I think it's really awkward, and then it separates everything in a very awkward way, in my opinion. Anyway, I don't like it. Fauna Shaman. Discard a creature card, search your library for a creature card. This so this is like a Fauna Shaman deck. It's been a while, Fauna Shaman. Night of Autumn, Primeval Tide. Oh, so now you have... Okay, now I understand all the one-ofs, because you can go dig for them. Okay, so, your mana base sucks. Like, you should just... Instead of reflecting... Like, is this on a budget or something? Blood for Bones is a worse recurring nightmare, as it isn't recurring, but it does allow us to put a creature card from the graveyard into our hand, as well as put a creature directly onto the battlefield. Shaman is a strictly worse survival of fittest, because we can only tutor. With this in mind, we have Ladrimir's Call, Eldrazi Displacer. To give us more consistent with ETB triggers and triggering for utility creatures, we also have several bomb creatures for different situations. Since we're a toolbox archetype, the sideboard is full of one-off creatures. Yeah, I get it. But the mana base sucks. Like, the mana base is really bad. Gemstone Mine? Mana Confluence? Like, you should have the shock lines in here instead of any of this stuff. This will be very painful. And you should be able, with Verdant Catacombs or Windswept Chief, just fetch out the... Like, at least have one Temple Garden, one Overgrown Tomb in this deck. Temple Garden, Overgrown Tomb, and I get... what's this? Temple Garden, Overgrown Tomb. Oh, and then the Orzhov land. 4 mana, eh? And it's still possible. This Birds of Paradise is the best? Maybe. Yeah, and maybe some Canopy lands. Yeah, Godless Shrine was the third one I couldn't put my mind to. Well, I mean, I don't know if... I don't even know if Dryad is... I think this Dryad thing is really fancy, to be honest. They've got Primeval Titan in here and Dryad of the Elysian... Is there even one Valakut? There's not even a Valakut in this deck. So what's the point of Primeval Titan? Oh, look at me. I'm Primeval Titan. So I actually think we should cut Primeval Titan, because there's no purpose for it at all. It's really pointless. You might as well play anything else. Like, you would much rather have... Not even Grizzlebrand. How do you not have Archon of Cruelty in this deck? This deck could probably ramp into it. Okay, so you have... we don't even have good Reanimator targets here. And I think I did see a Dryad Elysian Grove. You probably should just not even play this thing. I would say we should play with Archon of Cruelty. This is like the... I mean, this is the best Eldrazi Displacer target, if anything. I also think you should... I know you're a toolbox deck, but I think you should go all in on a few more creatures. Like, if we play with Archon of Cruelty, that would be amazing with Eldrazi Displacer, right? I mean, you would just crush them. Kitchen Finks for the bones, that's also a good idea. Like, you are a toolbox deck, so you don't need to play one of every damn thing in existence, and some of these are just pointless. Dryad is pointless. I think the, Is this, like, do we need this? Swamp Walk, the beginning of your upkeep, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Like, this is 2 win more to me. Primeval Titan is pointless. Night of Autumn is okay. That's some utility. Iona is okay. Grizzlebrand is... It's fine. Don't know how much Eternal Witness matters, but whatever. This has got to be crap. Elvish Reclaimer is, like, pointless. Like, if you had one Valakut, I could understand how you're justifying some of these choices, but you don't even have a Valakut in your deck. Primetime is my least searched bomb. I designed this deck before Modern Horizons 2, and it desperately needs an update. Oh, I see. Okay, so we can add more Archon of Cruelties. It would make sense to have Kitchen Finks in here, but I don't know how necessary it is. But, like, the point, like... I don't really want to put a Valakut in this deck, to be honest. But definitely fix the mana base. Is it that you own Mana Confluence, so you just like Mana Confluence? Because Mana Confluence is not a very good land. I'm getting a sense like this, you put these lands in here because these are what you own. Versus, like, what's the best thing to go get. Because, like, shock lands are definitely better than these. Archon of Cruelty, but what if Leyline is out? Well, then we go get the Night of Autumn. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Suck it, Leyline. Suck it. Okay, Blood for Bones. Now you need other ways. You should actually be maybe a little bit heavier on the collective brutalities as well, because you need to be able to. Like, none of this works. Like, Blood for Bones doesn't work if you don't have the card in your graveyard, right? So you need more ways of getting the card in your graveyard, and Thoughtseize and Collective Brutality can do that. You can target yourself with Thoughtseize. It's not the greatest thing to do, but it is an option. Do you have any other? Do you have any discard outlets? You have nothing. Oh, you have Fauna Shaman. Maybe that's enough. Maybe one more Collective Brutality. So I'm not thrilled with the Ladimri's Call. Search your library for a creature card, reveal that card, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. You're probably better off with, like one of those Reanimator cards. What is it called? Buried something? Something buried? No. What's the card? What's the card that puts a non-legendary in the graveyard? Oh, but it's not... The non-legendary thing may not work very well right now. Because we have a lot of legendaries in this deck. This is the legendary deck. The deck of legends. Unmarked Grave, that's what it was. Does Unmarked Grave work well in this deck? Not really. Unless we cut the legendaries, which aren't even necessary. Like, these days, Archon of Cruelty will be a bigger deal. But let's say... Okay, let's say we really want to build this deck around Fauna Shaman. Discard a creature card, search your library for a creature card. Okay, let's play less toolboxy. How many cards do we have? Okay, we're going to get rid of Vigilance, Indestructible, Permanence you control. Okay, this is Winmore. Okay, we're going to cut Avacyn. We're going to cut Dryad. We're going to cut... Elishnor is fine. Cut Prime Evil Titan. We'll cut Sholdred. Let's go up to Skyclave Apparition. Let's play 2 Archon of Cruelty. Because you could reasonably cast this thing. Definitely play some Shocklands. Probably that's not going to change much, though. You probably stick to what you have. Ideally, you should play with Unmarked Grave. Because that works really well with your Blood for Bones strategy. And then, I would say if you wanted to really gut this deck, you should play with Unmarked Grave and actually take out then all your legendary creatures. And then maybe just play with non-legendaries. And then you would keep your Sholdreds. Maybe you keep... No, this is... No, sorry. This is legendary as well. Solitude's a nice card. I don't know if it's for this deck, though. Actually... Maybe maybe that would work. Because you put Solitude in the graveyard. Well, that could be a very different deck, actually. We could really rebuild this thing. Okay, so quick fix. Take out all these fancy legendaries. Put 2 Archon of Cruelty. Put 2 more, like, Skyclave Apparitions for interaction. And that is it. But, you could take a really radical different... way of going about this and play with Unmarked Grave and just play with non-legendaries. So you would be a Reanimator deck, but you're trying to reanimate things with Blood for Bones instead. And you're like sacking your creatures. And you would probably have Solitude in this deck as well. Solitude could be a decent card in that deck because you exile something that goes to the graveyard, then you can bring it back and it exiles something else again. So there's some good synergy there. So I would explore ideas with Unmarked Grave, but the quick fix is to take out some of the extra fluff in here, like Primeval Titan doesn't matter, doesn't even make any sense, and play Archon of Cruelty, and I think up the number of Skyclaves. I think Skyclave is still a good card right now. All right, good luck with that. Spencer Ward's a brewer, loves brewing, big brewer. But for a brewer, you need to buy some more mana. Otherwise, you're like limited in at least one. Just get one Shockland, one of each Shockland. All right, let's go to the next one. Amber with Stormwhacker. This is going to be interesting. The Storm Whacker. Okay, we've got Goblin Electromancer and Baral. Oh, is it just... Oh, it's just Storm. I thought it was going to be like 8 whack with a bunch of goblins, and somehow it stormed off with like Empty the Warrens or something. Alright, we got Consider, which is an upgrade. Repeal, Desperate Ritual, Grape Shot, Metamorphose, 4 Poetic Ritual, Pyromancer Ascension, going back to that old tech. 2 Remand, 2 Wishes, Empty the Warrens, Gifts, 2 Past in Flames. Fire Out, River Glide Pathway, Shivan Reef, Snow-Covered Island, a Mountain. All usual suspects. 2 Flusterstorm, 3 Lightning Bolt, Shattering Spree, a Braid, Echoing Truth, Grape Shot, 2 Pieces of the Puzzle, 1 Reckless. Is this what makes the deck of the Bushwhacker deck? What is it called? It's called Storm Whacker. How does this contribute? Or is it like just a Storm Whacker because you have a random Bushwhacker in your sideboard? When Reckless Bushwhacker enters the battlefield, if its surge cost was paid, other creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain haste until end of turn. I guess the idea is that under the right conditions, you can empty the Warrens and then Reckless Bushwhacker on the same turn and then kill your opponent. That is so funny, but you can't play Reckless Bushwhacker from your graveyard if they put it there with Gifts Ungiven. Anyway, I have, honestly don't have a lot of confidence for this plan with the Reckless Bushwhacker, but the rest of the deck is fine. I'm just curious, if you Gifts Ungiven and they put this thing in the graveyard, like what do you do from there? Because you have no other way of reincarnating it. Oh, but you could actually wish for it. You may play a card you own from outside the game this turn. That's interesting. That's funny. That is funny. Yeah, you could wish for it too. If you have, like, if you're storming off and you have infinite mana and you have infinite resources, then I guess you Reckless Bushwhacker and empty, and you could do this game 1. You could wish for empty, then wish for the Reckless Bushwhacker. Well, is that the innovation to bring Storm back to the forefront of Modern? I don't know, but someone's trying something. Yeah, you can wish for it. Well, if when you storm off, you basically draw your entire deck, like, and nothing's stopping you. It's like when you have infinite mana, infinite card draw, and by the way, when you have Pyromancer Ascension online, you will draw through your entire deck. So this is an alternate way of winning. This is an alternate way of winning the game. This becomes an alternate way of winning the game, just through attacking. And it might be necessary if your opponent has, like, Leyline of Sanctity in front. Anyway, it's interesting. It's interesting. You open the possibility to... Because normally a Storm deck has to play Empty the Warrens, and then they wait a turn. And they gotta hope they don't die the following turn. But now you can empty and, like, kill immediately. Anyway, interesting. I think it is fine. You know what? Throw one of your sideboard cards away. Try it out. Because otherwise the rest of it is a Storm deck, and it's pretty solid. Alright, that's it for Coffee and MTG today. Thank you very much for joining me. As usual, if I didn't get to your comments, questions, or deck list, we do this Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. You love it? You love Coffee and MTG? You want to support the channel? You can drop a sub at twitch.tv/Nikachu MTG. You can become a patron at patreon.com, or you can hit the join button on YouTube. So thank you very much for joining me today. I hope we get some food for thought about, what makes someone the cheater, what makes someone not a cheater. We have to decipher what's cheating and not cheating because, game rule violations happen. And you can't accuse everyone who makes a game rule violation a cheater. So keep brewing up those coffees and we'll keep brewing up the magic. Thanks for joining me. Talk to you next time.